Well, we said goodbye to Venom last year with Tom Hardy's last entry in his trilogy, but could the character be making a return in animation very, very soon? Let's take a couple minutes to talk about a new rumor about Venom, where it comes from, and where the character could show up once again very soon on the big screen. Well, quite honestly, the Venom franchise was a pretty big success for Sony Pictures, even though each movie made a bit less than the other. Now, at the end of the last Venom movie, Tom Hardy confirmed he was definitely stepping away from the character after this trilogy concluded, and this left the studio without a leading man for the project. Now, how they were going to proceed forward, that's been the big question, and many of us were wondering if they were going to shift the focus over to a new host for the Symbiote, Flash Thompson. A soldier named Thompson actually lost his legs courtesy of Xenofog in Venom the Last Dance, so it seems like the idea was being put in place very early. But then came Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter. Those two movies bombed so hard. At this point, Sony decided to step away from those live-action Spider-Man villain films and focus more on things that were working for them, particularly Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Brand New Day, which they're co-producing with Marvel Studios, seeming to put an end to the Venom franchise. But now we're hearing something else. Now, to be fair, this comes from My Time to Shine Hello. And like we always like to say, if it's not directly from the studio, in this case Sony, Tom Rothman, or somebody actually working on a project, we're going to take it with a grain of salt. Additionally, My Time to Shine Hello has what I would call a mixed track record, even though there have been some home runs, and more importantly, hides behind anonymity, which to me is definitely a big red flag. What they are reporting, though, is that Sony is indeed working on another Venom project, but this will be animation instead of live action. Now, quite honestly, I'm really not too sure how to take this, but if the Spider-Verse crew are involved in this at all, that could be a really great direction to take the franchise. Honestly, people love Tom Hardy leading the franchise, and changing it up and putting a new actor in there is definitely dangerous. We've seen quite a few projects that were really pretty darn good, like Captain America Brave New World, where it feels like fans really don't quite adjust to a new face for a famous character. James Bond and Batman have been able to pull it off, but it's much harder than it appears. By shifting over to animation, well, they can basically retell the story, reintroduce Eddie Brock instead of an alternate version, and then just move back forward through another series of storylines. This could also be a great place to explore the Null storyline or even a multiversal threat, but it allows Sony to back away without taking a hit because Tom Hardy isn't there. Honestly, if it's done right, more Venom is not a bad thing. But this is Sony, and sometimes trusting them is a bit difficult. Honestly, I'd be down for a Venom animated film or even a Venom animated series. I think that might be even a better idea. But at this point, this is existing in Rumorville only. So we're not only going to take it with a grain of salt. For me personally, I'm not going to get excited for it yet because there is no real substantial information. I don't think the Venom character is going to go away. I do think he'll find his way back onto the big screen in one form or another. We did see a piece of the Venom symbiote left behind in the MCU, so I wouldn't be surprised if a future Tom Holland Spider-Man film actually explores that thread. But for right now, we have no confirmed details. We're obviously going to follow this one really, really close. The Spider-Man franchise, which does include Venom, is not going anywhere, and he is one of the most popular characters in the overall Spider-Verse, probably right behind Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Sony knows that, and they definitely want to utilize him however they can. How they actually bring him to life, well, we're going to have to wait and see. Before we take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC news, and we want to bring you all the news truthfully and transparently so you're really in the know.